Welcome to Creative Bath, the podcast for creatives. I'm Jaime, a designer, and this week I got to sit down with Casi G. She is an artist and designer and dancer based in Seattle, and I actually came across her work in the wild. I was at a coffee shop and I looked up and saw these just really expressive, lively pieces that were centered around jazz musicians, jazz artists, dancers. It just felt like there was someone with a story behind those pieces. And so I reached out to Casi. She was down to do the podcast. We had a really lovely conversation. I think that you'll find this interview really interesting. Here is Casi G. Hi.
Hi.
So you're Casi.
Yes.
So we met today, but
Yep.
I saw your work at a local coffee shop and I really liked it. And I think I've read a little bit that you were both kind of like a dancer, jazz dancer,
Yes.
is it? As well as artists. And I think that combination piqued my interest. So I reached out and here we are.
Amazing. Thank you for reaching out.
You're welcome. So I guess to start off, tell me a little bit about your background, dance, art, all of those things.
Yeah. So before I worked as an artist full time, I was an engineer. I studied at UW, I studied mechanical engineering, and while I was there, I joined the swing dancing club at UW,
Okay.
and I fell in love with it. I grew up surrounded by a lot of music, and so I already knew I really liked jazz, and I was really excited about finding swing dancing. And so I then spent like 5 or 6 years working as an engineer in various positions, and also during the pandemic started making art again, and I loved it. I had some friends who had been like building careers as like creatives, selling art and wares, and I was really inspired and started working towards that goal. And then a couple years ago, I decided to quit my job and make art full time, which is the craziest thing I've ever done.
Is it?
Yes. But I'm really glad I did. Yeah, now I'm here.
Okay. You said that I guess you grew up around music and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, my dad was actually, he was a double major in computer science and music. So I'm sure I was listening to music before I was even born. And he always really liked a really wide variety of music, including jazz. So I grew up around, chamber music and jazz music and Billy Joel. And then I also spent a number of years playing the violin and then the fiddle. And then I also got really into singing throughout middle school and high school. And then I also loved musical theater. But basically I was like, well, I really can't have a career doing that. So I also really liked engineering. So I was like, well, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. And I still use all those skills like all the time. Yeah, but going back to your question, yeah, I have this like deep love of music from the moment I was born, and it's been really rewarding to find new ways to celebrate that and to like incorporate that into different forms of expression.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Did you do art as a kid and then you said you got back into it? Like, did you kind of do the classic thing where you did it as a kid and then maybe went through a period where you didn't or something like that?
Yeah, so I was homeschooled, so I had like the core like classes that, every kid takes, like math and grammar and history and things, but if it's just you, that takes about 3 hours of your day, and then you have the rest of the day to do a lot of other things.
Sure.
And so our like homeschool community would do like art classes, and I always loved drawing and painting and making art. I think I kept doing that like just for fun, sketching in the margins of like my homework through high school and college. I just didn't really do much with it, but I always really liked it. Yeah, but then, engineering is extremely time consuming.
Yeah,
So
I can imagine.
yeah, so I stopped doing it as much. Yeah, until I had suddenly a lot of free time in 2020.
Okay. And then you kind of reignited your relationship with it.
Yeah.
I saw that I think a lot of your pieces are watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you gravitate towards that medium?
That is a great question. I had not really spent much time with watercolor in the past, but I think in like 2022, my stepmom was like getting rid of some watercolors and was like, "Hey, do you want these?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I like looked up tutorials on YouTube and decided to try it. I had the wrong paper, I had the wrong brushes. It was not good, but something about it just grabbed me.
Okay.
And I just haven't been able to leave it ever since. It's a really unique medium.
How so?
There's a few things that are really different about it. It's pigment and water interacting, right? So there's kind of a lack of control that you have with watercolor. Whereas, you know, like with acrylic or with oil, you can like spend a lot of time getting really into details and messing with things more. But with watercolor, you kind of just have to let the pigment go where it's gonna go and flow. And there's a form of like letting go that I find really rewarding. And I think it's also part of what makes watercolor in particular look really alive, because it captures this actual sense of how the pigment moved through the water on the paper. And I still find it mesmerizing and really fun to play with and really hard.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I painted, and I remember watercolor being my least favorite because I
Yeah.
felt like I couldn't control it.
Yes.
So I feel like yeah, maybe it's a bit of an analogy. I feel like that's how I feel about surfing, where you can't control the waves. You can really only control, like, what you do with it. So
Yes.
there's something about that I feel like I connect to.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Connecting watercolor and surfing, but
Totally. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, they both involve water.
they do.
So it's a valid connection.
Sure.
Yeah. But when I talk to people like at markets and shows and things, that's like commonly what I hear from people. Is
Really?
they're like, God, I just find watercolor so frustrating. Like, I love painting and watercolor. I've just never been able to like do it. I think because it's a different set of like skills, and it's almost like a different set of like, there's a type of emotional like discipline that is not the same as like other painting mediums.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I guess in that spirit, is there a carryover with jazz? Because I feel like jazz is also a kind of dance where I feel like it's a little bit more free form. Like,
Yeah.
I'm feeling like there's a connection there.
Yeah, I think so. I think I feel drawn to this lack of conformity, and part of the reason I'm like so drawn to jazz is for the same reason. It's acknowledging like structure and then going, well, okay, here's what I'm gonna do with these rules that you've like put in place. And like jazz it's a Black American art form that was born out of both oppression and struggle, but also community and joy and expression. And that's, I think, why it's so powerful. I think that is part of why I like watercolor as well, is that it's unusual, and it also has this sort of, it kind of can't be contained to like what you might expect of it. It's kind of going to do whatever it wants to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've seen a few articles that have talked about Seattle being a place for, like, I guess, experimentation when it comes to dance.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. It's so interesting because there's a lot of really vibrant dance communities in Seattle, and a lot of them are very siloed from each other. They're like they feel very separate. Like, I feel the longer I'm here and dancing, the more I discover like, oh, there's thousands of people that have been doing this whole other thing this whole time, and I just had no idea. For a long time, I was just in the like swing dance / Lindy Hop scene. Now I'm more aware of the like salsa scene, and we've collaborated some, and now I'm more aware of the like various like hip hop and street dance scenes, and we're starting to interact. And so it's really cool to see, basically rediscover like all of these different dance communities that have been here the whole time. So I think I would agree, but it's also really interesting, like if you're not looking for it, it can be kind of hard to find.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And you said Lindy Hop. What is Lindy Hop? It's a form
Yeah.
of jazz dance?
Yeah, so Lindy Hop is the original swing dance.
Okay.
So it was developed and created by, once again, Black Americans in Harlem, New York, from the like 20s through 30s. It has a lot of different influences from like 20s Charleston is the one that like a lot of people know about, the like flapper style like dancing. That is one of the things that is like informed Lindy Hop, and a lot of like African beats and African dancing, as well as the partner style dancing that happens a lot in Europe. And essentially it's like a fusion and iteration of all of those ideas to the music that was popular at the time, which was jazz and swing jazz in particular, which is why it's called swing dancing, since it's to swing music.
Okay.
Yeah, so Lindy Hop, it's the OG swing dance, essentially.
Okay. What makes you gravitate towards Lindy Hop, I guess, among others?
Yeah. I think kind of the same thing, this freedom and creativity in the expression. I started playing violin when I was like 5.
Oh, wow.
And at some point, I had a violin teacher who also taught like bluegrass and fiddle music. And I just was almost instantly more interested in that. and like bluegrass is kind of a related art form that kind of like evolved in parallel but also separately from jazz. And there's a lot of creativity and like solos that are improvised in bluegrass and fiddle as well. So I always am just drawn back to these art forms where you can find your own form of expression that's unique to you and your own creative voice. Yeah, and that's why like Lindy Hop is grabbed onto me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So, okay, I want to take us back to when you decided to stop your engineering job and go into, I guess, the arts. I guess, did you have a moment where you were like, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Or is it like a gradual thing?
It was a very gradual thing. A lot of my decisions take about 6 months.
Okay.
Especially the big ones. I like start thinking about the decision and then I know that it's going to be at least 3 months, probably 6 months. This one, like I had kind of like daydreamed about it and thought a lot about, okay, how would that work? What do I actually want to do? What would that look like? And I had picked up enough traction and excitement about creating and selling art and running a business as like a side hustle and like a part-time thing outside of work. And essentially there was a few things that kind of all came together at the same time. I cared very deeply about the team members that I worked with at my last job, and I happened to end up in this temporary management position there because our previous manager left. And so I used that as an opportunity to document all of the work I'd ever done and try to like really set them up for success and make sure that they had all the information they needed when I left. And my now fiance had like bought a house, which I had helped with the down payment, and we had sort of agreed because I had front loaded some of the down payment, we would also be like, that's essentially my rent for the next couple of years. Okay. So there was a few different things like that where I was like, now it just feels like the time to make a big change. So it was a balance. And I even having the management thing as an option, suddenly I felt like I saw my whole career laid out of like, okay, if I keep doing what I'm doing now, these are the paths that are ahead of me. And I don't want them. So I got to do something else.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you feel like some of those skills in engineering have carried over into what you're doing now? Or are you like flexing completely different skills and are happy about it?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I definitely, I don't think I could have run a business without having been an engineer first.
Really?
Yeah, because there's so much like organization and planning, and communication and working with different software that are all skills I built in the world of engineering. Some of my drawing skills are from drafting classes in engineering.
Really?
Yeah, and like understanding ways to draw like 3D models and even complex 3D models. That's a required class if you study mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I don't think I could do this if it hadn't been for yeah, starting with engineering.
Or were those classes like you were hand drawing like 3D kind of things, or like it's like a step before using like I'm guessing like 3D modeling and whatnot?
It was both. Yeah,
Okay.
there was both on paper and digital components. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
which I didn't know there would be like on paper stuff because I only knew that it was a CAD class, right?
Yeah.
Computer aided design. Yeah, but I was honestly pretty excited when I was like, "Oh, cool. I get to learn how to like draw these weird 3D shapes in all these like different forms of perspective." Yeah, it was really fun.
I think I did a podcast episode about it where there's a way that you I guess like drawing is a form of learning, and it's kind of been misbranded. I'll use that term. I don't know if it exists, but I'll use it anyways. But we think of it as, oh, you're doing like a creative thing or you're making art, but it's sometimes a way to just like wrap your brain around a concept. And
Yeah.
like, if you look at scientific drawings from the 1800s, these guys were really good artists.
Totally.
you know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you guys were doing that. That sounds interesting. And I'm glad you're able to use those skills now
Yeah,
as
thanks,
well.
me too.
Was that your favorite class in school?
I don't even know. I honestly I took some really cool classes. That was one of them. Yeah, I took a couple women's studies classes just because, you're required to like take some random stuff. And honestly, some of those were some of my favorite classes. And actually, I learned about more like diverse history, especially like history of like America, which I still use that knowledge when learning more about jazz and these different art forms that pretty much always come out of marginalized communities.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, CAD was really fun too.
I think when I was looking at your work, I noticed like I'm a Josephine Baker fan, and like there were a couple of other artists that I recognized as well, or musicians. And do you gravitate towards like I guess historical figures in your work as well? It sounds like history might
Yeah.
be like a part of what inspires you.
Yeah, I think I also teach Lindy Hop and jazz dance. And I think part of it is the teacher in me wants to highlight the originators of these art forms because I think those people can be forgotten. And that increases the likelihood of almost like the gentrification of the art form. And even there's like controversy now about like sometimes when you look at a floor of swing dancing, actually a lot of time it's mostly white people. And it's not a white art form, it's a black art form. So to me, I think I want to use my art as an opportunity to celebrate and pay homage to the people who developed the art form and also educate people about the history of the art form. Yeah, because I mean, there's so many incredible dancers and musicians who like people just don't know about. And it's really fun. One of my favorite things is like having somebody like see my art and be like, "Oh, I love jazz," and then be like, "I've never heard of this person," and I'm like, "Well, let me tell you." Like Melba Liston was an amazing trombone player. She was a black woman in the like 1950s and beyond, and so she got, less attention, but she was an incredible musician and led like all women bands and was a really influential voice in like the development of bebop, which is a form of jazz. And so to me, it's more meaningful art for me to make because like if I want to paint a trombone player, I'd rather paint Melba than like somebody
Someone
else.
else.
Yeah. I want to paint the person that we should know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you sell at some local markets in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Are you having these kind of conversations with people walking up to your booth and whatnot?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
okay.
really fun. I also sell at some jazz dance events around the country. And for those, I mean, it's all conversations like that, which is really fun. And it's a lot of really meaningful conversations with people. And occasionally I'll like meet the grandchild of somebody that I've painted. And that's
Really?
like, yeah, I've met like the grandchildren of a few different people I've painted. And it's crazy every time. It's really, really cool. Yeah, and it means a lot to them. I mean, one of them, they like found me online, like through Etsy. And
Mm-hmm.
they were like, this is my, it was either their dad or granddad. And they were like, we didn't even know that he danced until like after he died, because he didn't talk about it.
Really?
But yeah, after he passed, they started like doing more research about him and like found my art that way. Yeah, and they were like, thank you for making art about him. It's just so crazy.
That's
Yeah,
really cool.
I know.
That's,
Yeah,
I feel like, I don't know, sometimes I know when you're creating something, there's, fantasies like run through your mind. I'm like,
yeah.
that's like a fantasy.
I
I think
know.
a lot of
It's
people have.
crazy. Every time it happens, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, the craziest one, if I'm just gonna brag for a
Go
second.
ahead, this is the
Um,
time.
do you know Cab Calloway?
I don't.
He's essentially the original showman.
Hmm.
He like kind of like changed or like revolutionized what a band leader could be, because he was the band leader, but he was also a singer and a dancer. Yeah, and just incredible at all of them. But I painted him, and his grandson, who now runs the Cab Calloway estate, found my art and like bought the painting, and like now the Cab Calloway estate owns a painting that I made.
Yeah,
Which is really cool.
that's awesome.
And it was an amazing, like I ended up talking with him on the phone and had like an amazing conversation with him about like dance and music and jazz. And I ended up connecting him with other people in the like Seattle Lindy Hop scene and
Mm,
community. And now he's like come to like one of our events and like gave a talk about Cab Calloway at like a dance event in Seattle
really?
because of a painting.
That's
This is
pretty,
crazy.
that's awesome. I feel like it
Yeah.
also, I feel like you, I guess, have the, I'm guessing from your, all of the other experiences, you have the skill set of like talking to people and just like connecting and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Because I know for a lot of artists, like a lot of us are introverts or
Hmm.
whatnot. And it's a skill to like talk to people. And also,
Yeah.
I think, when people are celebrating your work, like own it and accept it. Because that can be hard too,
Yeah.
you
It is
know?
hard. It's really hard.
But that's really interesting. Wow. Sorry, I'm like a little shocked. I'm like, that's really a really cool
Yeah,
experience.
I understand. I was very shocked. I'm still shocked.
Do you, I guess, like when I think of dance versus like painting,
Hmm.
like painting is a very, you're in a room alone most of the time. Or I guess you could be in a
Hmm.
class, but it's kind of a solo experience.
Yeah.
Dancing, especially swing, it's interacting with a lot of people and
Yeah.
whatnot. Do you feel like, I guess, like, where does your comfort with other people come from? Does it come from dance? Does it come from somewhere else?
Whoa. That's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely consider myself to be an introvert,
Okay.
but I love, yeah, so, which is honestly part of why I like painting, because it's the most satisfying solo activity. But I think introverts, especially, are really good at connecting with people over shared passions.
Mm.
And I think dance is one of the most visceral ways to do that, where like you actually don't even have to talk to each other, you
That's
know?
true.
You are just appreciating this shared art and like movement and music and expression
Hmm.
together. And honestly, the fact that I mean, most songs that are played at dances now are about 3 minutes. So it's kind of a time bounded interaction.
Yeah.
And that honestly does help a little bit too. It's
Okay.
like, at longest, we're probably going to interact for like 3 minutes, and I can commit to that.
Yeah. It has a start and an end.
Exactly. There's like enough structure that I'm like, okay. I'm ready for that amount of interaction with somebody.
Sure. Yeah. I feel like I'm on my own journey with figuring out if I'm an introvert or extrovert. I thought I was an introvert, but being up here, maybe I'm an extrovert. I'm not sure. But what you said about having like, I guess, a start and an end, you kind of know what something looks like that makes me comfortable. I might be just like an extrovert with social anxiety. We'll see.
It could be.
Could be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even also like even introverts need human connection.
Yeah.
It's just a different, at least the way I experience like, being an introvert versus an extrovert. It's just I seek out different types of human connection, and I maybe a little pickier
Sure.
about what it looks like, but I need it. Yeah. And especially working from home all the time now, sometimes I have to like make sure I get it scheduled, because otherwise sometimes I start to get lonely.
Like making your art.
Yeah. Like during downtimes where there's not like a lot of markets or something happening. Like, yeah, even though I'm an introvert, I'll be like, I haven't seen my friends a lot recently. Yeah. I kind of miss them. Yeah. So it's, either way, wherever you end up, it's valid. But it's also valid to be an introvert and also want more people time.
Yeah. True that. A little bit before we sat down for this conversation, we were talking about travel. And I know that you get to travel with dance. Like you go to different events. You said that you sell pieces at different jazz festivals, right?
Mainly jazz dance events.
Dance events.
Maybe festivals someday.
Okay. I'm curious about how travel influences your work. Does it give you energy? Do you find ideas? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, for sure. I love traveling, and every time I travel, I get new inspiration for art. Last year, it was last year, I did a 2-ish week trip to Europe and started in Paris and got to like go to the Musée d'Orsay, and there's a whole like impressionist section there. I could have spent like the whole day just in that area, like getting to see like Renoir and Monet and Van Gogh, like even like literally just the art, the like impressionist art, because I make a lot of impressionist like style work, was just so inspiring. It's all different types of art. In Barcelona, going to the Sagrada Familia, I was even like just inspired by like the stained glass windows that were there. I actually ended up using that as some of the branding inspiration for a dance event that I do some graphic design for.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I mean, putting yourself in a different context anywhere is always really good for your creative mind. And I mean, it's just even better if you end up somewhere with incredible art.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anything, I would love to just travel even more.
Same.
Yeah.
Very much same. We're getting close to time, so I'm going to ask you maybe just a couple more questions. You have a number of things for sale. I'm curious if you're working on anything that you're really excited about right now.
Yeah, I'm planning my next series, which will be an adjacent medium. So it's watercolor on canvas, and essentially you like prime the canvas with this like kind of plaster-y material. It's called watercolor ground, and then you can paint on the canvas more like you would on watercolor paper. It's still a little different, but it's similar, and you can use like watercolor paint for it. And I'm planning on doing the feeling of different jazz dance styles. I'll probably expand to other like things beyond jazz dance next year, but this year I still have like at least one more set of like ideas I want to really explore. And this series, it lets me, doing watercolor on canvas lets me paint bigger, which is nice. Also, I think I want to go in a direction that really focuses on how something feels, because I think watercolor in particular is really good at that, like, impressionist and expressionist type of, I don't know, vibe.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about exploring like Balboa is another jazz dance style. Like, how do I use color and texture and brush strokes to represent what the dance feels like, not just what it looks like. So that's the next thing I'm gonna work on. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Thanks.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram at CasiG.Designs. It's CASI, which is unusual. So just heads up, it's just the most efficient number of letters.
It really is, yeah.
And then I also have a website, which is just CasiGDesigns.com. And those are the two best spots to stay in the loop about what I'm up to.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Cool. Well, thank you for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.